off. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry wrap up their final round of UK engagements.
It has been something of a farewell tour for Meghan and Harry here these past few days.
Everywhere they went, there was applause, and even more applause.
Today, they're back. Harry and Meghan returned to London for their final round of royal engagements and two very inspiring speeches.
A lot of you tonight have told me you have my back. Well, I'm also here to tell you I've always got yours.
Let's all just rally together to make International Women's Day something that is not just on Sunday, but frankly feels like every day of the year.
Welcome to the Royal Report. I'm your host, Sharon Carpenter. And with me today, my superstar sidekick, Max, a.k.a. the Count of Cuteness. Catch Max. Well done. And now, the news. Harry and Meghan were back in the UK for their final round of royal engagements this past weekend, and the Duchess got right to work. On Thursday afternoon, Meghan made a surprise appearance at one of her patronages, the National Theatre, to see their immersive storytelling studio. Fortunately for us, she shared some photos of the visit on the Sussex Royal Instagram. Just hours later, Harry and Meghan reminded everyone that they still know how to make an entrance. A rainstorm provided the Sussexes with this movie-style moment as they arrived at the Endeavour Fund Awards in London. Once inside, Harry delivered a heartfelt speech honouring the veterans and servicemen and women being recognised that evening for their extraordinary recoveries from injury. The Duke also touched on his own military service. Take a look.
I feel incredibly lucky to be able to count myself as one of you, and I'm deeply proud to have served among you as Captain Wales. A lot of you tonight have told me you have my back. Well, I'm also here to tell you I've always got yours. Congratulations to all the winners, to the amazing nominees, and to the families and friends who support all of us. Because without them, none of this would be possible, and they too often are forgotten. So thank you.
On Friday, it was Meghan's turn to deliver a poignant message. The Duchess travelled to Robert Clack School in the town of Dagenham in East London for a special International Women's Day assembly. There, Meghan spoke to 700 students about the importance of coming together for gender equality. Take a look.
No matter how small you might feel, how low you may feel on the ladder or the totem pole, no matter what color you are, no matter what gender you are, you have a voice, and you certainly have the right to speak up for what is right.
Harry may have had to travel a little bit further than his wife on Friday, but with Britain's most successful Formula One driver Lewis Hamilton behind the wheel, I don't think the Duke minded the commutes. Harry made the 100-kilometre trip from London to attend the opening of the Silverstone Experience, a new immersive museum that celebrates the past, present and future of British motor racing. From classic cars to classical music, Harry and Meghan stepped out on Saturday night to attend the Mountbatten Music Festival at the Royal Albert Hall. The Duke broke out his red mess dress uniform for the annual event, which raises money for the Royal Marines charity and Click Sargent, an organisation helping children with cancer. Harry and Meghan capped off their busy weekend yesterday by joining the rest of the royal family at the annual Commonwealth service at Westminster Abbey. The event marked the Sussexes' last official royal appearance and the first time the couple has been seen together with William and Kate since last November's Remembrance Day. Just a few short hours later, Kate hosted a Buckingham Palace reception to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the charity Place to Be. The Duchess became the patron of the organisation in 2013 and since has been steadfast in her support of their work to provide mental health services in British schools. And finally, the Queen's youngest child, Edward, the Earl of Wessex, turns 56 today. To celebrate, the royal family Instagram shared this adorable photo of the Earl with Her Majesty back in 1965. And our family here at the Royal Report would also like to wish Edward a very happy birthday. All right, joining me right now, People Senior News Editor Erin Hill is here with us.
Hi.
Erin, how are you doing?
Great to be here.
So much going on.
Yes, busy week.
So Harry and Meghan have wrapped up their last round of royal engagements before stepping back at the end of this month. What are your sources telling you about how the palace and the people of Britain have received this trip?
You know, this was a bittersweet trip for both the people of the UK and the royal family. It went extremely well. On the one hand, Harry and Meghan got to visit with a lot of the public, and they got to see them again. But they were also reminded of what they would be missing. You know, this really amazing, star-worthy couple who really connect with their organizations. But they were able to kind of reassure a lot of their patronages that they aren't going anywhere in terms of still relaying that support. You know, establishing all those connections. So it was a successful tour, but definitely a sad one.
Bittersweet,
Yeah.
by the sounds of things. When do you expect to see Harry and Meghan back in the UK in London?
Yeah, no one really knows for sure, but I think the earliest we could see them could possibly be in June, when the Queen extends an invitation for them to return for Trooping the Colour, which is the Queen's annual birthday celebration in early June, when they do the whole balcony appearance with the royal family.
Yes.
It could be that we see them then. That would
Invitation
be...
or request?
I think at this stage it's an invitation. Yeah, so considering they're really not senior working royals anymore, so it would be by invitation.
It's different now,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, I also want to talk about last week's royal tour.
Yes.
William and Kate on the Emerald Isle on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. What was their main intention here, their main goal?
This is really to foster a relationship between Britain and Ireland, and this marked William and Kate's first official tour ever in Ireland, and it's especially important right now in this sort of post-Brexit climate.
Yeah, a jam-packed tour as well, as they always are. 3 days, many engagements. They went to the Guinness Storehouse, they spent time with several charities, visited a research farm as well. All very carefully planned out.
Yes.
I'm assuming there's a strategy here, though. What was their strategy
Absolutely.
in helping with the greater goal?
There always is. The royals didn't do anything by accident, so this would have been carefully orchestrated. These represented a lot of projects that were important to William and Kate and their roles in the royal family. You know, using sports as an instrument to kind of foster mental well-being, being with children, being in the outdoors is of course one of Kate's big issues that she stands on, how important it is for kids to be in the outdoors, and then meeting with a lot of mental health charities, which is one of their biggest platforms.
Yeah. So what are your sources telling you about how the palace feels about the tour? Was this a success?
This was an extremely successful tour. It's their first one in Ireland, and it's always great to see the two of them out together. I mean, they really are strengthening their roles as a future king and queen, and it was great to see them out, and it was really well received.
Okay, now in the past, we have seen Kate use her fashion for diplomacy. She does it so well, carefully curating her wardrobe on these royal tours. How did she do this time?
Yeah, she did great. I mean, she hit it out of the park with all these green ensembles, and it was amazing to see, you know, how she would kind of put that on display each day. And she kept that theme going, these sort of emerald outfits looking beautiful. And this is her exhibiting her soft power, and they're non-political figures. So they have these kind of subtle ways to show their support for their host countries.
Yeah, she looked stunning,
Yeah,
didn't
she did.
she? All right, so what was your favorite moment from the tour? We need to know.
I have to say it was this moment when William was kind of out meeting a lot of the well-wishers during one of the walkabouts on the last day, and he had this great interaction with a woman who was holding a banner from their wedding, and went up to him, and they said, "We love your wife, we love Catherine," and he said, "I do too." So it was just kind of cute little, you know, humanizing moment.
Yeah. My favorite moment, William juggling. Who
That
knew he
was
had the
great,
skills?
yeah.
Have we seen this before?
You know, I remember there was one moment when they did a tour in Japan back in 2015 when William found himself in a little ball pit with some kids and playfully juggled, and you could see right there he had the skills. So,
he's got the skills.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have the skills? Because I have a couple more questions for you to juggle with.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think it's time for a game of Rumour or Fact.
Okay.
Let's do it. Okay. First up, the Cambridges will be touring Australia later this year. Rumour or Fact?
You know, for now, that's a fact, but it will be, you know, to be seen now that we're in this sort of, you know, travel climate with coronavirus. It's likely going to be postponed. We'll see. They haven't announced a date for it yet. They may be waiting to see how things play out travel-wise, but I'm sure they're going to want to visit at some point because as a Commonwealth nation, it's very important for them to lend their support.
Yeah, and of course, Harry and Meghan were out in Australia themselves for a royal tour in 2018. And speaking of, there is a ton of of buzz around Harry and Meghan's interaction or lack thereof with William and Kate at the Commonwealth service. Yes. Max he wants to know what's going on here. So here's my question for you. Rumour or fact, Kate intentionally snubbed Harry and Meghan by avoiding eye contact with them.
Well, I don't know if we could say she intentionally did, but I think from a viewer's perspective, we did see that there wasn't a lot of eye contact or interaction going on during the Commonwealth service. Meghan and Harry were already seated when Will and Kate walked in. They gave a little wave and a hi. William, we saw nod hello. Kate, there wasn't much eye contact in their direction. And even afterwards, there was no interaction as they exited the Abbey. So I think this kind of shows that there's still the tension that we heard was going on, around the time of William and Kate and Harry and Meghan's decision for this exit is still going on. And we are hearing that the relationship between the brothers will never quite be the same. Wow. And so it's clear they're still working through things.
Yeah, you could really feel the chill just watching that video, couldn't you? Erin, awesome as always. Thank you so much. See you again soon. We have to take a short break now, but first, Max is going to tell us what's coming up next. Welcome back, everyone. The topic of Harry and Meghan's security has been making international headlines the past few weeks, and there are still a lot more questions than answers, which is why we've invited our next guest to join us via Skype from London. From 2007 to 2013, Simon Morgan worked as a Royal Protection Officer and is currently the Director of Operations and Training for the British security firm Trojan Consultancy. Simon, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks so much for having me on today.
OK, let's dive right in. Less than 2 weeks ago, Canada announced they'll no longer be providing security for Harry and Meghan once they officially step back from their senior royal duties on March 31st. So, Simon, do we know who will be protecting them on April 1st?
No, is most probably the honest answer. Now that Canada has very publicly said that they're not going to provide the security for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex whilst they're in Canada, moving forward, nobody really knows who is going to be providing that at the moment. Whether that falls to the Metropolitan Police Service to support that in Canada is a very big question that certainly would have to be looked at strategically and legally as well. Or whether it's something that falls to the private sector to fill that void. It is uncharted waters that we are going into. It's certainly, there's no precedent for this.
So just to clarify for our American audience, you mentioned the Metropolitan Police Service. That's informally known as Scotland Yard, and it's the agency historically responsible for protecting the royal family, right?
Yes.
Now, you also mentioned the possibility of Harry and Meghan needing to hire a private security firm. If they do go in that direction, what's the biggest difference between private protection and government protection?
Certainly the current structure by the police service, you have the whole of law enforcement involved in that, both UK and internationally. You also have the security services as well, who will give their input on the current threat situation, both in terms of generic risk and specific, whether that's relation to a particular country or indeed a particular event. The biggest question going forward with the private sector is how do they link into that? How do they have the same or similar access to that information when potentially they're no longer police officers? So that is a question that is most probably being addressed at a very senior and strategic level at the moment, as to kind of whether the information is going to be readily available.
When you're talking about security for a family that's as high profile as the Sussexes, just how tall an order is it? I would imagine it could get pretty complicated, especially considering they'll be living an ocean away from the UK.
With regards to the package that they have going forward, then it is very important that there is an understanding of how that protection package is going to look like, incommensurate with the risk, but also in the lifestyles that they're going to be leading. Are they going to be leading a very sedentary, not so much isolated, but not much movement type of lifestyle? So therefore, the protection package around that would be quite reduced. If, however, they're going to be a global couple, constantly moving, constantly going in and out of different addresses, then you're looking at a vastly different package, because you have all the logistics to make those those visits, those journeys, those events safe and successful. So that's where the cost implication would then come in, because obviously you are then moving and you have all the costs of transport, accommodation, meetings, extra staff, all that will go into that mix.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the potential cost. We read that Harry and Meghan's security could run as much as $20 million. Some are even reporting £20 million. Does that sound accurate to you? And where's all that money go?
Well, I think £20 million or dollars buys you a lot of security. There will always be a base level with regards to security. You know, you're going to have protection officers. You're going to have a residential security package. The actual additional to that, which will see a cost increase, is how much movement is required to kind of make the Duke and Duchess safe whenever they travel. So, yes, the cost implications are going to be quite significant if they are going to be a global couple, because you're always going to be in a scenario of protection officers traveling in advance, protection officers traveling to arrange meetings, extra vehicles required, extra residences, extra event staff if necessary. But certainly protection at that level, delivered at that level, is not cheap.
Well, Simon, you've definitely made us appreciate all the hard work that goes into protecting the royals. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thanks, Sharon. It was great talking with you.
All right. Now, as it turns out, our very own Max here once worked in security. That's right. Before he was in the TV business, Max briefly worked as a guard dog. Take a look. Okay, Max, you're a lover, not a fighter anyway, aren't you? That's right. The Royal Report will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 39 years ago yesterday, Princess Diana first met Princess Grace of Monaco, a meeting that blossomed into a beautiful but brief friendship. Today's installment of the Diana Diaries is a celebration of these two beloved princesses.
Lady Diana Spencer is soon to become Her Royal Highness, the Princess of Wales.
In February 1981, the palace announced Diana's engagement to Prince Charles. The following month, the couple attended their first public event together, a benefit concert to raise funds for the Royal Opera House.
Diana was just 19 years old when she made her first official appearance alongside Charles. They had just got engaged. She was visibly nervous. It was clear this was a new experience for her.
It seems like Diana didn't get much guidance about the event and how to dress for the event. She wore a black dress, which later that she said was actually 2 sizes too small for her, and it was a black, quite low-cut dress.
It actually broke with royal protocol a little bit, because usually black was reserved for funerals.
Another princess was also in attendance, 51-year-old Grace Kelly. By then, the former actress had been married to Prince Rainier of Monaco for a quarter century.
Princess Grace of Monaco. She, of course, is very experienced at this sort of occasion and the often tricky business of making small talk. She also knows how to give a helping hand to a newcomer.
The story goes that Princess Grace actually noticed how uncomfortable Diana seemed and took her to the ladies' room for a little private chat. She tried to, bolster her spirits, and she joked, "Don't worry, dear, this will only get worse."
This was a moment that Diana must have cherished and made her feel so comfortable. She's only just new on the scene. This is an incredibly intimidating environment. There are only a few people around the whole world who could give her advice in this situation, and Grace Kelly was one of them.
And I think when she just said, honey, you know, it's only going to get worse from here, she knew, because I mean, it wasn't easy for her either. And I think for Diana, she must have thought, actually, this is probably going to be a bit of a soulmate and a bit of a mentor or somebody she could look up to.
The two princesses were together again only 4 months later. On July 4th, they shared the royal box at Centre Court, where they watched John McEnroe defeat Bjorn Borg to win his first Wimbledon championship. That same month, Grace and her son, Prince Albert, returned to London to attend Diana's historic wedding.
They're comparable in so many ways. The way they brought that sort of glamour to the royal family, the sort of movie star type thing, the people's princess. And had they not both died so young, I can imagine we would have seen a lot more of them together.
The following year, on September 14th, 1982, Princess Grace Kelly died tragically after suffering severe injuries in a car accident. She was 52 years old.
She died in a Monaco hospital tonight with her husband, Prince Rainier, and her 3 children beside her.
When Grace Kelly died, Diana actually approached the royal family to ask if she could go to the funeral.
This wasn't necessarily within the normal protocol for Diana to go by herself to attend this.
It was sort of like the palace, like, you don't need to do that. And she, reportedly said to Charles, no, I want to go. It was an important relationship to her.
Why did Diana feel that way? Well, she later explained to Andrew Morton that in Grace, she saw someone who was an outsider who married into a big family, and Diana, of course, had done the same. So she essentially went to Queen Elizabeth, asked permission, and the Queen said, sure, you can go, why not? And Diana did.
This was a big deal because this was the first official engagement that Diana did solo, that she did on her own. And it shows that the connection between the two of them was meaningful, that she really wanted to be there and to celebrate the life of Grace Kelly.
One of the things that we see with Diana at Princess Grace's funeral is the really remarkable progression she had made in such a short amount of time. So just 18 months, Diana is suddenly almost a different person, really composed, poised, comfortable in her skin, in a different black dress, looking completely at ease. And when she returned to England, there was a sense that she knew that, she had really grown, and that her confidence had grown, and that she was kind of looked at in a new way as a more established royal and someone who was just getting ready really to do big things.
The Royal Report will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's time now for another lesson in royal etiquette with friend of the show, Micah Meyer.
Hi, I'm Micah Meyer, and today we're learning the Queen's Pose. The Queen's Pose is the pose for Queen Elizabeth whenever she's sitting in public. It's comfortable and also great for anyone who's shorter in stature. The Queen's Pose is really easy. All you have to do is keep your knees and ankles together, nice and relaxed, and toes pointed forward, feet flat on the floor. The biggest don't for the Queen's Pose is not to put your back toward the back of the chair. So you want a little distance in between your tailbone and the back of the chair. You don't want to let your knees separate at any time. The Queen uses this pose when she's sitting for a long period of time to always look poised and polished and have great posture. You can use this pose professionally or socially, and it's really comfortable. Try adding the Queen's Pose to your life to add a little bit of regal to every day.
All right, Royal Watchers, that's our show for today. I want to thank my adorable co-host Max right here. You can follow him at Max the Corgi NYC. And remember to follow People on Twitter to watch the latest episodes of The Royal Report, streaming every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm Sharon Carpenter. Ta-ta. Till next time.